How's it going, Richard?
Hello.
Good, good.
All right.
I just got a haircut.
You're looking good. I like the hat, man.
Well, look at my short hair.
Okay. All right. You ready for the christening of the ship?
Yeah, that's it.
You look nautical. You know, you have that nautical feel, Richard Moore. So.
Hey, thanks.
You know?
In our post-Soviet culture, this kind of hat is associated with Lenin, you know, with the Bolsheviks.
Oh, right.
Right. All right.
Lenin. That name floats around quite a bit. You know.
Long live the working class.
Welcome to the November 27th edition of the Electric View. I'm Neil Thompson. Today we have Richard, Jim, Heather, Eugene, Buddy, Robert, and David. We will be talking about how belief in philosophies can change our perceptions, what over-unity is, and the latest EDM experiments from David Brown and how it relates to electric geology. Please like and subscribe.
But I don't know. I mean, I want to believe it. I want to believe it's him doing it.
I thought it was him too, but yeah.
This would be an interesting one to go down a little bit.
If you zoom in right here, it's actually Kurt Russell. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
That's a big CGI project, by the way.
Oh God, yes. Let's see. It was a viral advertisement for the Nokia N96 limited edition Bruce Lee cell phone produced in 2008. It's employed a Bruce Lee look-like actor pretending to play ping pong against an opponent. The movements were synchronized to the sounds of a genuine table tennis match, with the final audio and the visual image of the ball being added into the clip.
Why do you have to ruin everything, Neil?
You just ruin everything, man.
I want to
imagine, yeah.
Sorry.
You're Debbie Downer. You're like Debbie Downer, man. I wanted to believe it.
Santa Claus doesn't exist.
And there's no Easter Bunny.
There's no Bruce Lee.
Hey, wait. Don't tell me
Chuck ping pong.
I still want to believe in Berkeley currents.
You know, I've had this.
Yeah,
Santa
what's up with those Berkeley currents now, then?
I've had this Santa Claus moment with Sherlock Holmes, actually. I was very frustrated when I learned that he was a fictional character.
Sherlock Holmes? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was so cool, and, you know, to learn that he was actually fake was very disappointing for me.
Do you know who wrote about him, or who wrote him, invented him?
Conan Doyle?
Yeah.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, actually.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, Mark Twain does that to me, man. He invented a lot of characters I thought were real.
Including his own name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's not even real.
Twain. Right.
Well, it's, you know.
Never the Twain shall meet.
Thank God for that episode of Star Trek there that taught me his name was Sam Clements, or I wouldn't understand.
Right.
Did some of you post this thing about Twain and Comet Halley, or was it somewhere else that I learned?
No, he was born at the passage of Comet Hailing, and he died in 1910 just as a pass.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting, you know. I mean, that one's pretty hard to fake, right?
Well, I guess especially
if you
on
want
the
to believe mythologies, that was pretty hard to fake, right?
Yeah, well, the dates are the dates, right? And yeah, I don't think it's exact, but it's pretty darn close. I think one of the last things he did was see Halley Comet go by. So I think he saw it when he was 10 or something. I'm not sure how it worked, but I'm not actually sure of the dates now. But yeah, he's definitely associated with. Let's see if I can look that up now. Now you got me interested.
I've got this one. I think
you do
because remember Emma had it. She brought it when she was on.
Oh
man, why don't I have that on
Here's
here?
an interesting one involving us. So the Electric Universe, 2017, which arguably kind of united us all, well, pretty much. There was a eclipse, and there will be another eclipse on my 40th birthday. The next full eclipse across the United States. So that's kind of neat. To have an eclipse on a birthday is kind of rare, I guess, in general, but maybe not, you know.
Oh, it augurs great things, buddy.
Hey, we're all in this together, guys. We're all in this as a collective.
I don't know what that
is. Someone else's birthday too, unless I'm the only person on the planet.
You probably are anyway. You're already the only person on the planet.
Wait a minute. You just blew my mind. I was right the whole time?
I was right, though. You're right. Yeah.
We don't exist.
We don't exist at all.
We exist only
it's all in your mind. It's all in your imagination.
I invented all these characters. I'm a good author in my head.
See, you try to claim authorship, though. This is a big mistake.
Dang it! Oh, man, my thoughts are my own?
No.
Oh. So wait, if it's not me having the thoughts are having me.
That's right. That's right. You live in a sea of thoughts.
So
just decide which way to swim.
Branching off to your area and your neck of the woods, I found someone has discovered ancient ruins off the coast of L.A.
I saw that. I
shared this with David here.
Yeah.
So that might be kind of neat to go into.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. You have it. Can you pop it in the?
I sent it in text. Let me.
It's my phone is not connected to this system, so.
Yep, I'll pull it up here.
Because I'm worried Facebook might like grab it. I'm like very anti-Facebook today, as you may imagine.
Just don't connect. Don't give them your driver's license number. They already know your social security number.
Right.
Why do they know these things? No, I mean, seriously.
Questions one might want to ask.
These are weird things that never happen to my Facebook, but apparently happens to other people's. I don't understand.
They happen to yours. You're just not aware of it. That's all.
They don't have my SIN number, that's for sure.
They have how long have you been on Facebook?
Let's see, probably 2008, maybe?
They have everything.
It's all for your own good.
Everything. They have everything, Neil.
It's all for your own good.
They certainly don't.
They're protecting you. They're protecting you. They're you know. So don't worry because Facebook.
Maybe their policies in the U.S. and Canada are a bit different.
I assume.
You know.
Well, we have pretty strict laws, and I know that Facebook has to obey the European laws too, or get shit canned. So I don't know what the rules are there either. I know that they are completely different, though. Like, I mean, you can see that if you post videos to YouTube, you can see, like, this is blocked in this country because this person holds a copyright, you know, and it's only on that one country. It's you know, you have to deal with that, you know, because each country has different laws. Like, a lot of them are, I'm sorry, you cannot show this to people in the United States or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just saying I never had anything weird like that happen to me. No one's asked me that question. Please use your telephone number and send a picture. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That ain't happening. This is a website. What do you think it is?
Facebook is Facebook.
So this is right out about a mile off the coast of LA. And they're proposing that it was a walled city. Here's an ancient city, and typically they built walls around a lot of the ancient cities. And it's only a mile offshore, so that shows that it could be right off that plateau right there. I think it's an encarpment, right off of the coast. So now they're measuring it. It's about a mile long. About a half.
There's an element of that looks like just as far as like that's a classic digitization
Error?
look to it. Error, yeah.
Yeah, it might be the same one as that.
Yeah.
Although
Not to Bruce
it
Lee
does have
nunchuck you or anything.
Yeah, don't do that. But there are the little craters at on the top of it though. So that's. But you're most of the time.
It's because it's all of a sudden there's like this loss of detail, and it's directly it's square. It's square.
He tests it the depth. He's about to test the depth. It's all 12 feet deep all the way across throughout the whole thing. Right here's the depth. So
where's the data from? Yeah, I mean, where's the data from?
He's on some site here.
He's saying it here, right?
That's cool.
But why would you take the city down? What I'm thinking is, why would you take the city down? And why would flows, if a flow were to come, maybe it would encamp the city and encase its walls, and then go over the walls. If that's what kind of built the structure, some sort of a mud flow or something, or volcanic flow, and then it hit the walls and then went over the walls, and then just kind of. He's saying there's a doorway over right around where he's about to go, not there. But these are little buildings inside of the structure. Interesting nonetheless.
That actually kind of is interesting. There's as much as this may or may not be real, there are certainly places around the world where you can find, I think the 7 pagodas of the 7 temples of India, that the only ones left on the surface, the rest of them are all trailing off into the water. And you can, and then of course we know that bay is full of, the old city. And apparently it was flooded like 32,000 years ago or something crazy like that. Well, I don't understand the Vedic stuff, so.
I mean, it's interesting you brought this up because I was just listening to talking about Bimini, and
that's another great place too.
That's pretty. That one kind of is because it's not just a hole there. You can see some of the structures that have been built, then off Cuba. This one's definitely worth further exploration, but my critical eye on the way that looks is ringing to me. We'll see what this is. That's an interesting one-off.
It's things like this that are making my mind go crazy. Just wondering, and if you go down to the floor of the ocean, there's another hole.
Well, this is what they're talking about here is just this huge hole, which could be a well.
That's interesting about what by itself.
Yeah.
Pow.
And it was a couple miles away from where the city was. So it would make sense that it's closer towards the water off the escarpment.
I've been out. Yeah, that's right here. I've been out there I was out on a catamaran one. That's pretty interesting.
Well, it wouldn't take too much for some scuba divers to go down off the coast there and check it out.
200 feet?
So I don't know how far it is.
Well, that's what I was looking at when he was going by there. I think it peaked at 201 feet down.
Oh, no, the one closer towards the shore, I was thinking.
Oh, that one, yeah. Oh, no, I don't think I would go anywhere near that. No, I just mean,
scuba diver.
No, I can scuba dive. Do you know scuba gear was actually invented right here? Anyway, doesn't matter. Interesting fact, eh?
You need to play Jeopardy.
I've been asked to do that once.
Really?
I'm the guy that notoriously likes playing Trivial Pursuit and stuff like that. So.
Okay, right.
Did you know that trivia
names
3 roads, and that's where they post the news, which is why it's called trivia. Trivia.
True. See? Wow. Okay.
I have trivia about trivia.
That's
recursive.
Is there any news on Neuralink on how they're connecting our brains to the internet yet?
Well, that's probably going to happen anyway.
See, this is the Aramon versus versus the white hats. So
there's a part of me that enjoys the idea, of cyber. Well, I played Shadowrun, which is basically
Dystopian
like cyberpunk.
I'm like a fan of nature personally. I think
well,
nature is
more
under attack.
A fan of that than I am of a particular my favorite dystopia or something. But
right.
But seeing
it seems
whether
to me
or not,
like nature's screaming, and with all the stuff coming in at it, and but like the thing that's coming in on it, is kind of hiding the fact that it's destroying nature.
Oh yeah. Well,
nature is pretty dystopian in itself. It's pretty selfish if you've looked out there. It's pretty selfish if you look out there, yeah.
I think it's pretty harmonious.
No.
Oh my God.
I think it's much more harmonious than we are.
Literally look at nature and feel any feeling you want to feel. And you can look at nature and find it. Disgust, every kind of horrible feeling that you could want to imagine to feel, you can find it in nature. Just by looking at it.
Can you find that in technology?
Oh, yes.
It's going to mirror it.
It's kind of cold and dead, though, right?
No.
There's beauty in everything. And
the only part that's living is the part that we infuse into it.
Well, I'll give you an example of something that I thought was interesting. When we were doing communication theory, I took basic and advanced communication theory when I was in university.
Like stochastic processes.
Well, more to do with, like, how communication is evolving, because this is where we were, this is back in 2001, and we were saying that people are going to have like tricorders with them and stuff. So, we're practically there now. But was talking about the qualities of each type of technology, like we wrote on stone, and then we use pictures, then we use words, and so on. And what are the advantages of it being on stone? What are the advantages of it being on paper? What are the advantages, and looking at each technology in its own right to determine the things that we like most about it. And then we use the analogy of, now this was here, of course, we use the analogy of a firearm, and, is the firearm good or bad? And then what traits are brought to the inanimate object by its and how does it affect you by the fact that it just simply exists,
right?
So
how is this? So the initial premise I got was this is how communication is evolving.
Well, what I was saying in regards to technology that we were talking about, and you, Rich, for instance, technology being cold and dead, there can be technology that brings warmth and comfort to people's lives and stuff like that. Like a gun. Exactly.
Talk about how bad
very warm
phones are and how everybody's on
it was there.
It's there, yeah. Go on.
But I mean, they were talking about this. This is like one of the classic dialogues out of the Republic. It's like they talk about same type of thing. They talk about justice, and it's like, what is it? Is this a good? What's the good? What is the good ultimately? And it's like you can debate around it forever. But I don't see a major, just elevation of the discussion from then to now.
Well, if you think of nature as a substrate, and technology is nothing more than us drawing ever closer towards the substrate, then they're going to unify eventually. And this is what people say AI is. And this is what Neuralink is. This is our brains merging with technology. This is the technium, is what they call it.
Say it one more time, so I get it, because it's like I'm not getting the basis of that statement.
If you look at nature as a substrate, everything in nature as a substrate,
so define a substrate
as the wheelwork of creation.
Okay.
And technology is only us drawing ever closer towards that to use it with better efficiency. Eventually, they're going to unite, and the unification of technology and nature is the technium, which is artificial intelligence.
But sentient
technology becoming an organism, a technium. This is what it's called. So eventually our minds will will bridge the gap between the two too. See, we're already connected. We're already connected to nature, and everything is connected to nature, but we're deriving devices that ever so increasingly use the wheelwork of nature, and then calling it technology. Looks, crash test dummies, everything is a type of technology, but now with electricity and going and using plasma and quantum computing and things like this, going ever so closer towards using what the actual substrata is, the design eventually will be interfaced through our minds and interfaced through technology. You want to talk about communication? Look at the social networks.
I think this is probably why I'm so reactive to this whole avenue, and you see it reflect out in other ways. But it's like the extent that there's this desire to continue to dominate nature always, right? And it's and you're kind of pointing in that direction, and I think it's a bad move ultimately. It's like if you look at it and you say, we can make something that mimics this and we can find out more, but it's way beyond our understanding, and we only have these five senses and we only can extend them out. And from all that I can see, we have just very super limited understanding of anything. So it's like go underneath, put nature up above and copy, but don't try to dominate. It's absolutely, this is a ridiculous approach, I think, and this is one of the problems we face in culture and society.
But
a lot of it is mimicry. A lot of it is biomimicry.
But but I'm saying the intention to dominate is different than the intention to put it above and say, okay, let's build something that kind of celebrates this little aspect of it, but recognizes that we don't know shit, ultimately. So you see the difference?
But why should we do that? Why not dominate?
Because it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious. It's delusional. That's one reason why. It's a delusional move.
Well, to me, I think of the sun. Sucking the energy directly off of the sun, like Nikola Tesla said.
Okay.
Should be able to tap
what's it going to be used for?
Mother Earth. And that's what I'm talking about. Being able to tap the breast of Mother Earth and work off of the wheelwork directly off of it.
But the spirit of the intention to build it and doing it is what's going to make it what it is.
How many over Unity devices are there in the world that are successful?
None.
That's what they have you believe.
I love that.
Yeah, back to the Bruce Lee Dubchuck thing.
Well, Unity just means efficiency of one. That's all it really means. And every
why do you want to use it?
And that's all it is.
And you use it.
Go ahead.
It's electricity. Everyone uses it as power. That's what powers everything.
We're destroying. We're ultimately running down the planet. This is one of.
Why? We are not.
Because it's all. Yes, we are. It's all radiate. We're radiating all energy instead of doing the opposite direction. I mean, this is the message that I'm getting these days.
But who cares?
Why? Because it's a destructive. You're destroying. You're not creating. You're just. This is one of for some reason. I've become a big fan of Schauberger's, and he railed against this all the time. Everything's radiative instead of the other direction.
It's both. It's not one or the other. And I call it systolic.
All our mechanisms, all our industry, everything is built off of the radiative rotational type of devices versus the opposite of the things that he was proposing.
Yeah, we're starting to use impellers and we're starting to use implosion, and this is recently, within the past 100 years or so, but and that's what I'm talking about. Working off the wheelwork of Mother Nature, off of the generative half of the cycle of the wave versus the degenerative or the radiative. Both of them are one of them is radiation, and one of them is implosion, radiative and implosive.
I'm not quite sure.
And these that's where. But it seems to me this is much more of a full circle if you consider both of them, and you consider our breathing, So I mean, just from a 50,000 foot level, it makes sense to me personally.
The efficiency of something or its unity, if it's 100% efficient. Like I said, it's a unity of 1. That's all it really means. Now, if you solve the equations necessary with the amount of fuel and how much power the fuel has versus how much energy you get out at the end of, say, a nuclear reactor, the end of that, you get 40%. So that means for 100% of power, the end result is 0.4 of that. If you put in 1,000 watts, you get it 400 watts. Out of a nuclear reactor. Now that's because it's boiling water.
So what you're saying is we don't even have something that's 100% efficient yet, let alone over unity, right?
Well, if you got the only things, yes, basically, there's no conversion process between two different types of energy that I know of that is 100%. The closest that I know of, right, just if I was to name something right off the top of my head, would be something like a transformer. That can get really high, because
transformers are awesome.
Yeah, and you can know when something is conducting a lot of it. You can feel the heat coming off of it. But even then, the amount of heat that's going through it and connecting those two coils together, which is connected via the magnetic field. So there's electricity to magnetism to electricity again. That connection can be over 97%, but even that right there is still giving off some heat, vibrating slightly, and that's waste energy. Electricity being transmitted across tension lines, everything's great, but you have to design bigger ones and make the wires further apart, because we saw that coronal glow effect. Well, that happens around power lines, and that's a loss of power. As soon as it connects its field to something else, it's just draining that. So this is another thing where you basically are transmitting power from a far off place, like say a dam in northern Canada, and then trying to get down to the United States, and it has to go through a bunch of transformers, converted up and down voltages and everything to get down there. How much is left? How much is wasted as heat along the way? Right. The same thing happens with engines and generators and everything like that. That just finding something. I've seen a lot. I used to think that it was possible. Okay, I was sure that I was 100% on this wonderful idea that was going to change the world when I could figure it out. And it turns out all I really did was invent a stepper motor. So.
Have you looked into John Searle's work? What about his work?
Well, I'm waiting for John Searle is Jason Verbelli's stuff. I'm waiting for that to happen, but I'm not there yet in believing that either. So I hope, but
looked into it, but I've heard other people quoting John Searle recently in the emergence theory, which I love.
Okay, I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, emergence theory is great. Good stuff. But we'll save that for a different episode.
All right.
Anybody seen the post from Dave Brown?
What did Dave Brown post?
He posted something about the crater forming in the ice and mud that on the tray that he's doing, and he kind of made it similar to the Greenland crater.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, it looks really good.
It's on the geology site.
Oh man, I gotta go to Facebook.
Yeah.
Or I can share.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Take over. I don't want to deal with that. That's it's all sticky.
Yeah.
Sticky in that place.
Facebook.
So someone was telling me earlier about. I was asking about lightning. Lightning is a plasma, but Hello?
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 I think Robert might have been...
Hello, plasma.
Let's see.
So, anyway, I was asking about lightning. I know it's a plasma, but I don't know if it was a Birkeland current. And someone was talking about Eric Dollard was explaining lightning as being a break in the ether,
Fair enough.
like a filament in the ether coming out of space, from outer space. So it's part of the ether. I don't know. I think everything is ether, but anyway, it was cool. His description of it with Dollard.
What's he go by?
Electric Universe Eyes, I think.
Yeah.
Eric Dollard goes by Eric Dollard.
Because that guy, I mean, he's so classic.
Oh, him and... I mean, don't get me wrong. I obviously have a sneaking suspicion that the idea that the waves of energy carry their own medium with them is ridiculous. So, and the laws of Maxwell require an ether to be there. So, in that sense, I'm totally for the ether. But I've seen so many odd descriptions from people about it that, especially people who mistakenly think it's flowing. This was the mistake of Michelson Morley, where they were trying to show a flow of ether, a directional flow, and it's like trying to show the flow of magnetism inside that thing that Ken Wheeler tries to do, where he's showing you the light beams going around and stuff, and I find that to be very problematic, because they're talking about something as if it's moving, and it doesn't move. Like a magnetic field is formed, but it doesn't move. It's like a gravitational field. There's no flow of gravity, is what I'm saying. Type of thing. It's a force.
You might have it mistaken. They also say that light does not flow; it doesn't move.
I've heard that argument too, where light is projected instantly, and then it takes time at the speed of light to actually fully realize itself on another atom or something. I've heard that argument too. I'm not from some people induction. In the EU.
It's an induction.
They say it's perturbations. Yeah. They're electromagnetic dipole perturbations.
So this is ice, dirty ice. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
No, this is actually on the clay tablet that he had earlier. The pictures that I had from the Facebook page. I jumped over YouTube.
He's etching a clay tablet? Excellent.
Yeah, he's etching a clay tablet right now, and it's actually pulling up a mountain out of the mud.
That actually makes sense. That's like your anode blister stuff happening, yeah?
Right. And then, whoops. Where do I have it? There. It's up here. So that's the Greenland crater, and then he actually starts off the post here where he's just digging into the ice. I guess it's like he flipped it over or something.
Oh, that reminds me.
See, that's what I told him.
Moons, by the way.
That's Europa right there. Well, actually, that looks like.
Is that the one?
That's the one I told him. It's covered in ice. Yeah, and there's another one that has those rips in it. Miranda, I think, also has rips just like this one.
Yeah, and they don't know how they're formed.
Well,
but
now we do. Look.
Like that.
Looks like that.
Right.
They look like that. That's exactly what they look like. And this is actually good, because like what I was trying to show people when we were talking about the striations across surfaces. When you're doing with rock, you'll tend to get a cross hatching pattern. But it looks like in ice, you tend to get the last one laid down. It crisscrosses the other ones. But not evenly, obviously. They'll likely all go in the same direction. I think that's very interesting.
I think that that it would vary based off of the temperature.
Well, obviously, the electricity making contact is going to burn little or melt little marks, but apparently the ones, if you zoom in to Europa, you can see that it looks like basically craters that are just long craters that are extended outwards, not a series of little craters like you see on Phobos or other places, or the moon, for example, crater chains. They won't go across it. They actually go straight across like an actual constant thing, and actually create a like a valley, because that's how big but it crisscrosses the former terrain as if it wasn't there. I think that's very interesting.
It's like
What's
ice.
this thing pop up? This thing out the side here. That I see a lot, right?
It's a bubble, outgassing bubble.
Huh. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
What was that?
And there's another one here. See, there's another one right here.
Yeah, they're bubbles.
Yeah, but look at the location of them and look at the dynamics of them. Anyway, there's an action there that is ubiquitous.
We should.
You guys remember? I don't know if you were ever in a cold enough climate, but up here in Michigan, when you're riding on the bus, the windows freeze, and especially when I was a kid. But every single window froze differently. There was different patterns, and you know how ice does that?
Yeah.
And
oh yeah.
And I was looking at that picture of that frozen mud, and sure, it would freeze differently based off of temperatures or climate or variables. But yeah, I think that type of patterning could happen on an entire planet. I don't know how drastic temperatures would change like that. I guess it would be just by passing behind the planet, it would freeze it and then come back out, and it would be, thawed in parts or whatever. But topologically, that would create some crazy terrain.
It's pretty interesting. So he's got that one there and this one over here, right? So
could you imagine, like, this is very interesting. When I see this whole plateau that he built there sort of bend to one side, I am reminded of places in the Andes, like Lake Titicaca and places like that, in the high steppes there in Peru that are the whole, like, you can tell that the water level of Lake Titicaca used to be on an angle from what it is now. Like, it literally looks like something pulled up part of the land, and the beach is now at like a 15-degree angle of what the current water level is like. I find that to be fascinating. Bloop. I just picture this action like, vaporizing water and causing blowouts to the side of something. Right.
I mean, just to kind of, because it ties together, I think. But Peter, it came up out of a crater. I mean, but he just did this recently because we've been fascinated by this action, right? And he did a fairly deep analysis from his perspective on it, which I found interesting because he's definitely spending calories on doing it. So looking at these, and for some reason he brings this in.
Well, yeah, that's refraction of light, so that's not quite the same thing, but
yeah, he's trying to tie them together. So.
Yeah, not necessary.
But, well, you're very declarative. It's interesting. I like people who burn calories on things. So which he's doing, and these are interesting. I would say, as you may have seen, yeah. and looking at our
arcs on the floor, or?
And what are they doing? Why are they moving the way they're moving? And yeah, and then ultimately the spherical nature of them. And,
we used to do that with, what was it, liquid nitrogen. We'd watch it bounce into little spheres and run across the floor. Because it was boiling, obviously. Because the floor was like 150 degrees hotter than
So, have you guys heard of rheology? Anyone? Rheology.
So I just shared it. Reality?
I just shared it to the group because it was brought to my attention from an old text from Jake I was reading. It is the study of the flow of matter, primarily in a liquid state, but also in soft solids or solids under conditions in which they respond with plastic flow rather than deforming elastically in response to an applied force. So it's a branch of physics which deals with the deformation and flow of materials, both solids and liquids. And I assume that it would also apply to plasmas.
Okay.
So it was coined by Eugene Bingham out of Chicago, and it has to do with non-Newtonian fluids. And non-Newtonian fluids can be characterized by a single coefficient of viscosity for a specific temperature. So it reminds me of everything that we're talking about, because everything seems to be flowing, and Lichtenberg patterns are flowing. It's a flow pattern. Life is a flow pattern. So really, we could get down to the brass tacks of things by getting into the rheology of it. Or there's also rheometry, which is also along the lines of that.
Rheometry.
Every time you talk,
those other box,
buddy,
yeah.
I really... Have you ever heard of Harry Seldon? He's a fictional character from
Here we go.
Isaac Asimov's book called Prelude to Foundation. Yeah, the Foundation series. Yeah. And he's the guy that invented what was called psychohistory, or basically a scientific way of reading the future, knowing what the future's going mathematically. Yeah. And it's when I hear him and the way you talk, it's stuff like I'm thinking of, like something he would say to students, like, no, have you ever tried to, like, cause I picture like those sparks flying, like imagine we are like a fire being when we're born, and if we sped it up, would it not look like dancing embers across a sphere if we just saw us moving through time until we finally petered out? Yes. like one of those boiling sparks on the floor there.
Mm-hmm.
Just an idea, just a
different time, different time scale.
There are big, conspirological issues around this foundation.
I love the word conspirological. Like just
because some people believe that it's basically sort of a piece of, I don't know, intelligence or something like that was just leaked out as in the form of fiction.
What, that Isaac Asimov actually?
Well, he worked for the CIA and stuff, this Langley group or whatever. So it wouldn't surprise me, at least.
I think that what happens is great characters come out, and then all of a sudden the CIA says, "Hey, come here." And so they pop out. They're like the big straws in the group. They stand out, and then the CIA is like, "Oh, come here."
Like, yeah. And, if you start shining, they come. They go around and they collect the sparkles.
As far as I know, for example, the Bin Laden was a fan of Asimov, and this Al Qaeda thing. It actually literally means foundation, and so on. So there you go. Yeah.
Oh. That I did not anticipate.
and Elon Musk is also a fan of his.
Well, that makes sense. He's, compared to, if you go to the grandfathers of sci-fi, so Heinlein, Clarke, and Asimov. Asimov had the most, if I was to be so bold, his talk about the human condition and the different ways of governance, because he goes to each planet he went to was a different, was a whole different culture, and the people, you had to learn their culture because each planet is completely different. He did that with like you could go to a planet that you could see this is very commercial, and you can see another planet that this is an empire, a monarchy, and this one here is, socialist, more or less. Different versions or different variations of the themes, and compared to
this immense diversity.
But to answer your point, though, Eugene, I think that if I didn't know he had anything to do with Langley, but to imagine what they must have been doing in the 50s and 60s, trying to predict the future or make the future, either one, really. But to know if we do this, then someone's going to react like this, that we can cause this if we do that. The simple thing of if we divide a country into two countries, we can contain both sides by making them fight each other. The whole Pakistan-India thing, or the whole China-Taiwan. Well, no. Actually, I suppose in a way that's very serious. It's very true there too.
Double head helix of the of any flow system has a helical head, and that's the best way to control people too. It seems like politics are the same as the reality of things and flow patterns.
It's a little window. Our ability to perceive anything. Here's another example of like how limited we are. Our ability to really perceive anything is a really small bandwidth, of time, like for instance, this thing, who's going to think this thing's moving at all? But if you've been taking over time lapse, all of a sudden you see that it's a fluid, but it's like you wouldn't consider it to be a fluid.
Yeah, well, pitch, that's a fluid.
Glass is considered a fluid, right?
That's I think it's common. That's a common misconception. I don't want to Bruce Lee on that one, but
this thing's going to become a trope. We got a trope going.
David said it. Bruce Lee nunchuck you on that.
Well, the glasses they actually kind of flow inside, if you like. They're kind of stuck in this non-equilibrium state. So there's a constant process of coming to this equilibrium inside of them. And old glass, for example, tends to become more less transparent, let's say, because it's more equalized. There's little pressure in little stresses inside of it than was before, than in a fresh glass, so to speak.
Yeah, right. So Neil Creamer was awesome on Sunday. Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. Why not make him like a constant member of this podcast? Is it possible?
Who?
Sure, don't you think? Neil Creamer?
Yeah. Give him a call. Where's he?
Although you would have a constant competition for being the Neil.
The Neil.
Yeah.
The Neil. The real Neil.
And we're going to obviously end up fighting one day because we're going to be drinking, and he's going to go, I'm Irish. I'm going to go, I'm Scottish.
Yeah. I got some Scottish.
We'll both be lying on the floor going, I beat you.
Yeah. I mean, this is what's your sense of this thing, Eugene? The threshold model? Have you taken a look?
No, since then I have. But I pretty much told you what I thought previously, I think. So
we're creatures of repetition, so we enjoy being told many times the same thing.
So as far as I understand what he's saying, I don't see there a contradiction between his observations and like regular quantum mechanics, but I might be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it can be explained by regular quantum mechanics.
The one that struck me, let's see, I got this, as far as like something to dive into, but it's, our classic particle wave duality. And this paper is pointing towards, resolving that duality. So I have to dive into it. I just posted it because the direction it's pointing I find interesting. So.
Yeah, well, anyway,
so, and I like. I mean, from what there's the Comptons. Those are straight out of Compton. So the thing that he stated that is a bit of a radical idea, but the one that I like is that the electron doesn't exist. And when I hear that, it's like I want to know more.
I'm very interested in that.
I would straightforwardly ask, so what? I mean, does that change anything? Because it
changes nothing.
It changes a ton of things conceptually, particularly from a collective understanding of something. Because you got the label electron, and then you say it doesn't exist, and it's like this is a seriously heretical statement.
I mean, if it doesn't help you to find some new effects or whatever, then it doesn't matter whether
it helps. It helps you change your perspective on.
Why would you want to change? I mean, since we already have some perception of reality, if you, I mean, changing it would cause some, you would need some effort to be put into this change. Yeah. So it's not happening for free, So you have to have a reason to do that change. And if there is no reason,
I understand that.
So
well, the idea that an electron is a particle, and it's demonstrable. If I can get the right word, demonstrable that it is not a particle. If that's the case,
well, again,
this changes. No, I hear you're saying so what, but it's like, but I'm going to argue it's a big deal because
it's only a big deal.
If it's not a particle, it changes how we look forward in time and create things. If we're stuck with the fact that it's a particle, we're going to go one direction, and if we're not stuck that it's a particle, we're going to go in another direction.
Well, you've just literally defined particle-wave duality.
That's right.
But I think that, I mean, I agree 100% with Eugene on the fact that if there's no need to change something that's not broke. However, if it is certainly, if the nature of the electron is something that points to other things, for example, just by saying conceptually you have it wrong, magnetic field lines don't exist. That argument,
Well, it gets into ideas of the continuum and discreteness and all these things that are important to have conceptually.
Well, yes, but it could also lead to the incorrect assumptions we were talking about earlier with, flowing ether or whatever. Like we got to be sure on. I mean, clearly, we know that negative electrons or holes. We're in electrical engineering. We know that holes can be used to transmit electrical current.
They are as well.
Just as well as the opposite of that, an extra.
But it's a deficit versus
What if electrons are odd numbers and the nucleus is even numbers, and that's it?
You have to flesh that out a little bit more there, buddy.
What about irrational numbers?
Yeah, do they exist?
I can't even deal with them.
What about
is that rational to think that they're
okay?
They exist?
You were talking about holes. This can direct our attention right into a bunch of big old holes in the earth here. Remember that thing I shared on Facebook? The Earth is sucking down way more water than we thought, and no one is sure where it's going. What is up with that? And what about all the underground aquifers of water everywhere? And like there's stuff called deep water and water that goes like down in these cracks that takes hundreds of thousands of years to surface. And I mean, it's crazy.
hear Heather trying to get in, but I'm not getting her.
It's a cute noise, though.
It's a cute noise. Heather, you're making a cute noise, but we can't hear. We want to hear what you're saying. Unfortunately, we're not hearing it. We're hearing just
her battery died again, right?
But we can tell it's her.
Oh yeah, of course it's her.
Still not good.
It was a little better, but not much better. No. Too bad. So, I think, this is the thing, the thing that I'm reacting against, because I've been having this consensus science thrown down my throat for so long, and it's like, 97% of dentists and scientists agree, global warming, blah, 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 and then a lot, and you take that down, all kinds of different things where we have consensus, and it's like, that's absolutely against the nature of science to me.
Yeah, here I would agree, yeah. But
there's a lot.
What about the idea that you could have multiple perspectives? It's like we have this kind of, it's like, the halls of academe. There is ultimately.
You mean competing theories? That's so 19th century.
It's so we want How dare you question
exactly.
quantum dynamics?
Not even quantum dynamics. Quantum dynamics is one thing. What is the real crux for me is when you're trying to see the nature of the Big Bang Theory, for example, and knowing full well that they made a hypothesis which you should never make in science.
This is one where it's like
not even a hypothesis, basically making declarative facts about something that happened.
It's an alternate creationism. By definition,
that's the argument. Yes, yeah, and it's inherently unscientific. There's other aspects that are like that as well. By making the theory, by worshiping the theoreticians, like, for example, survival of the fittest. What's his name there? Darwin. That type of thing. The worship of Darwin has, because back then there was a war on against the rural people who had refused to change and to get up to speed, and there was an indignance.
But there was also there was a reaction. It was this dive into pure materialism versus any type of tribal, the alchemy / worship going on. They wanted to crush that ultimately.
Yeah, but they created
it was competing with the powers that be that used their own alchemy and symbology and
in a way,
bubbling up steganography.
And I don't want to be, by the way, bashing Darwin to the point where I say don't listen to him, but to put the theory in front of and make it unfalsifiable to the evidence means that you're just making errors. An example is if you have, for example, you find an animal that has different DNA than every other animal species on the planet. The problem cannot be the answer must always be common descent. So whatever you have in there as evidence will always be tainted by that because you make that immutable. So you will never come to the conclusion that this is an extraterrestrial life form or that panspermia is real, even though we're seeing more and more evidence of that as time has gone on. These are incredibly hard to change. The way, and this is the same thing with the Big Bang. You're basically told a story, and everything must fit into it, and that the idea of a competing theory becomes heresy, and they don't want it in their church, basically.
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well,
really, it's
right. Well, this is is their church good? Even though this gets into the whole thing we were talking about before, where it's like the convenient lie or the good lie, right?
Is church good? That's like asking.
Is science as church good?
Well,
I don't know.
But it's the same argument.
We all meet up on Sundays. How do you guys feel? I feel good after it.
I do too.
There you
Well,
go.
because we're talking philosophy.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, praise Jesus.
Amen.
But the argument though is that you're just supplanting one religion for another, and your argument, is it good, is basically saying, is deception good when you can't see it? Like, that's literally what we're saying. Because, I mean, your self-deception and just general deception, only because the theory's wrong, not because anyone's intentionally doing it. It's unconscious. It's just a product of groups and individuals, really, the way that we naturally organize ourselves. And seeing how that taints science has only been really thought about in the last 50 years. Because, I mean, it takes psychology the time to grow up to understand, hey, some of the things that we did in the past are probably stupid, and we take them as if they were sacrosanct. You know,
not probably stupid, are stupid.
Fair enough.
Nate, you were talking about deception. Nature itself is very deceptive. It is self-deceptive and self-deceiving.
Some of it is.
If you look at our senses are also heavily editing our reality, all of them, so that we only receive certain portions of the spectrum of light impinging our photons, our senses, or us just what we take in is heavily edited. So what's really there? I think if we actually saw what was really there, we'd be scared to death and we wouldn't even do anything. We wouldn't move.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it comes down to with the first question you asked, and is it good? And good would that would state that something is beneficial to you, beneficial to others, beneficial to the community. Is it good? Whether or not it's real, whether or not it's a lie, whether or not it's deceptive, there are white lies that are good, like something camouflaging itself to look like something else so that it won't get eaten. Is that bad?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so is church bad? Is science bad? I think that the more apt question is, are they beneficial? And in what ways? And in what ways are they not beneficial? Because Darwin isn't the end-all, be-all. People always forget about my favorite Alfred Wallace. And I feel like if we can go back a little bit and find out different aspects that maybe we missed while certain individuals' ideals and ideas were being glorified, they missed some of the pages, right, in the book. So we don't have the entire recipe. And looking at something from all aspects is a more holistic approach, because nothing is, I mean, I can look at my body as a machine. I can look at the universe as a machine. I can look at it as electricity and energy, or as alive, or as just inanimate objects, right? We can look at things all these different ways. But in order to see the entire picture, like you're saying, the things we don't see, we have to be able to look at all of those aspects holistically and see what the thing is. So is science good? Is religious good? I don't know. Is it beneficial? Is it helping?
That gets into communities, and our communities generally good, and networking, and large communities and cities. When you get a large amount of people, you get a large amount of information, and a large amount of everything increases. It's the exponential. Everything increases. And with that comes crime. And with that comes all the other bad things, and pestilence and whatnot.
Wait, did you just equate crime to scientific advancement?
Oh, absolutely. They're scaled quarter to three-quartered to each other.
Yeah,
I'll have to argue with you later.
I mean, the one thing that just to resonate with the direction that Heather's going, the other thing that comes through is I think one of the problems is there's this desire for it to be static and done, and it's never done. It's always everything. The one thing you can depend on is change. You know, everything changes throughout. Right. I mean, this is to me, it's observable. You know, and it's like to me, the theories have to be able to breathe and change. And this seems like, oh, well, then it's not the truth. And it's like, yeah, but the truth changes over time too. You know, this is all of a sudden you're out in the water without a boat, kind of.
Yep.
But at the same time, it seems more true to me.
Well, I saw that. Just 1 second. I saw it in Heather's statement that one of the things that when she was saying, "Is it good?" in my world, I was thinking, "Is it useful?" And obviously, this is where science is obviously very useful. But she was right in pointing out sure. But it can make you money, like it's that kind of useful. Solve problems, that kind of thing.
Right.
But
there's a big one.
But one of the things that didn't solve problems or didn't seem to be solving problems was natural philosophy, and we did away with that. I think the last natural philosophers died out in the 1930s and 40s, and that's it. Everything.
So now
there's been none.
We're the rebirth.
That's true in a way. We are, because there is each science can blindly go in its own direction. And we saw the same problem with when Eugene was talking about dark matter calculations. If you constantly, or was it Jim? I'm not sure. If you constantly are using a different amount of dark matter to solve all your problems, then you're just making bullshit up, because you're not even following your own theories inside your own science. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing more of this hyper specialization, which might be great to solve one problem, but by doing so, you've created a whole whack more, because you're not tying this into any other sciences. You're not acknowledging something happens, which is why we're here. I mean, we're here because they're not listening to Maxwell, and we're like, you should listen to Maxwell. That's, simple.
But that's what, yeah. So, but I mean, it's once again, that's one perspective on a phenomenon that can be looked at many ways, and it's like I love Maxwell, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but
I wasn't thinking that anyone did, but
that thing, the thing, what is that thing? And it's really like it's super compelling. What's going on with that?
Even Einstein was totally said, I think I made a great mistake, because I didn't include electromagnetism in my theory of everything. That was probably an error. Yeah, probably. It's just
right. I mean, the photoelectric effect comes into question again too.
Well, he did. That's the one he actually won a Nobel for, which I
and then talk about hijacking people who were there. It's like Lorentz just blatantly, obviously.
True.
And Poincaré.
Yeah, definitely.
Many other dudes
and it's very funny to see like people who you would think would be supportive of him not be, So, but anyway, I mean, he made some good. There's some nice quotable quotes that he made that I like. But
what, Maxwell or Einstein?
Einstein, but to me, he's indicative of this pedestalizing a character straight out of Central Casting, and it seems to me that it reeks of that to me with him.
Well, what I like most about this is the same argument I've said before regarding some other people who are slightly famous, like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye. I have a feeling like Einstein was talking to Velikovsky in what was on that Velikovsky was reminiscing in the 1972 video by the CBC called Bonds of the Past. In that video, a documentary, he talked about Einstein during his last 15 days alive, and specifically what the Einstein Society wrote in defense of Velikovsky upon the death of Einstein, about the re-examination of his theories and all this stuff, because these were the last notes on his desk. So this is what they want. And of course they were ignored, because they weren't, they were basically already in the purpose of idolizing the man and turning him into what he is today, so to speak.
Yeah.
The immutable, never changing.
He's clearly deified. Yes. Yeah.
But that's not what he was. He had the potential. If he had lived till now, I have no doubt that he would have already challenged himself a long time ago, just like Hannes Alfvén did when he walked up and said, "Thank you for the Nobel Prize. Don't use my work. I was wrong."
Yeah, right.
You don't get that very often, but I'm pretty sure people like Einstein
that's
would have the integrity to do that.
That's heroic integrity.
Yeah, actually it is. But it was the flaw in his math that he recognized, and he thought that he could actually make them change, which you personally know that there can be no transfer of electricity from point A to point B with, there could be no magnetism without being generated by electric force. They're linked. They're linked things. And that by saying one thing, when he just postulated without evidence that plasmas were superconductive, he destroyed astrophysics with that one statement, because they seized on that, said, oh yeah, the E field is equivalent to the B field because it's superconductive and there's no actual electricity being moved. And that destroyed astrophysics, because they had a solution to the magnetism problem, and they said, this works great mathematically. Stop talking. We're good now. Until we go out in space with probes and actually find out that we're wrong, we're fine. And they didn't go with probes until the 55? Then the 60s, they started having more, and so on.
Right. And
then now we're kerfuffled because we're running into things that we can't explain, and we're seeing power being expressed where it shouldn't be, and we're saying, no, the magnetic field lines are broken. You can't do that. Well, we're doing it anyway because our math says that your math is wrong. Yeah, but our math is what built the world. Like the computer.
Well, this is once again where the model is placed just idiotically over top of nature.
Well, this is the fault. So idiotic to me. This is the fault of not having a natural philosopher. The people who should be going, hey, these two theories are mutually exclusive, but they're both the best in their field. Yeah, but one of them has to be wrong. You should get these people in a room and talk to each other. Stuff like that. That's what natural philosophers are supposed to do.
It's usually they're not wrong.
Experts.
It's only part of the perspective. They have a window into something that's a facet of something.
I apologize for using the word wrong, but I meant in the way that a theory can be incomplete. Just basically theorized wrong, like basically it can be falsified.
Wrong could get. I've been wrong and gotten my leg broken once. That's actually true. But you're right just by saying you're wrong. People get fired up over that.
Really, you don't say.
You never know. You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know that someone you could talk about, say, oh, I don't know vaccines, and watch someone completely explode and say they're going to stab you. Yeah, you can see that, huh? Yeah.
Might be surprising.
I would actually say that you can have two theories that are incompatible with each other, but they both give you viable results.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, definitely, right?
But that doesn't...
Because either way...
I don't have any examples in my
Either way, a theory is some really simplified picture of reality. And, you can consider a person very good, and that would be one picture of reality, or very bad. That would be another picture of reality. And different people might hold these different opinions about this person, and they would interpret everything he or she does, in their paradigm, so to speak, and would consider themselves correct, and so on.
You see this this is in war. You see this all the time. Just see if you get into the two heads simultaneously, the images of the leading characters are polar opposites on each side, right? Whatever conflict you have. Right? It's a very interesting kind of mirroring, inverse mirroring that happens with conflicting factions of something.
Well, okay, except that the end result of an ideology is to put something over and above reality and to force things into boxes, but a philosophy is an attempt to explain, which is why physics is basically, quote unquote, natural philosophy, or the philosophy of science. Yeah. That's what it was supposed to be, yeah.
Right.
So, this is something that we do see where someone will like to have an ideological battle is different because they're trying to force themselves upon others. Others are just working in their own field, realizing these things work for their own purposes, and don't want to hear necessarily conflicts that would make them have to think outside their own box. And usually when a problem like this occurs, as Eugene had mentioned, those type of problems where two people can be working on different things with different numbers and they both seem to work, just tells me that there is something linking these two that is not seen, or a fundamental way of looking at the two problems that links them that we haven't seen yet. And obviously electromagnetism has been a big link for things like, as we were seeing, geology, planetary or otherwise, for example. But that's a little bit easier for the electromagnetism to attack a primarily descriptive science, which geology only became a numberable science after, carbon dating and things like that. Before that, it was purely descriptive. There was no, they were trying to figure out, how the Great Flood happened or something way back when. Eventually things changed over time, but.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Was it recent? Yeah, there were recent shots you showed. That was really cool. It was at Io.
Which planet?
Io. It was the moon, right? Io.
Io's
was
the
that
moon.
The one you were talking about?
Well, you mean Miranda with the striations, or Europa?
Yeah, what's the one with the striations? Miranda.
Miranda and Europa. Miranda will have
Europa.
Yeah, Europa's the one with ice, and Miranda's looks like a rocky surface, but still has some of those striations on it.
Miranda is a satellite of Uranus, isn't it?
Yeah, I think.
Mm-hmm. But we definitely haven't had any recent pictures of Miranda, because, again, only Voyager 1 or 2 visited Uranus.
Flew by, yeah. On its way out.
What was the one that you showed the other? Was it Europa, the one you showed recently?
Yeah, Europa's the one that has a few marks like that, but they're all over the place on Europa.
Yeah, no, it's really striking. It looks like someone playing around just with a scalpel and clay,
Yeah, actually, in a way.
Yeah. Let's see. Did you have that? I saw that one where that you had them stacked, the images. Didn't you share that recently?
I did, but finding it would be probably difficult. Try up close or high detail or something. Okay. That's an artist rendition, but
yeah.
Oh, there's some, yeah.
This is some of it, yeah.
Doesn't that just look like his ice?
That's amazing, right?
And it touched down like it just went what? Took some away, and you could see how it came up and went back down, and came up and went back down. It mangled parts of the surface, and parts of it were fine.
Oops.
It also looks like, I think, just by the fact that they have an orange across some of them, that was the hit from another direction. If you know what I mean, like it was pulling material from another planet, and then lacing that trail as it went across the surface, making the dust and dirt stick to it. But that's just
what I thought about is, these Nazca Plateau lines, again, in Peru, high up in the Andes, I guess. Somehow it made me remember those.
The two of those are really the monkey is an awesome one, the Nazca line, and the spider is my other favorite. Just because
there's the bird also there.
Yes,
which is pretty cool.
I wondered if that's more the southern plume one, or is it the Saturn to the north thing, or? Yeah, look at them. Look at the comparison. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's amazing, right?
He did such a good. I'm glad I said, "Hey, go friggin' look at this." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll go do that." Challenge accepted.
Look at this. And then this really hard line there. It's like, what?
Well, like I said,
sometimes I find it fascinating.
It's just the weirdest. I mean, it's not like the cross hatching we normally see on rock, which I think is fascinating. Just look at the way that he did it on. Like, I just love that he did them side by side. That's just.
This is GPL. Right?
Oh no! When he's posting, Robert's posting those pictures. They're popping up in the corner there, so you can see them side by side.
Okay, I got to go over there. Okay, I got to go over there.
Oh yeah, I'm just mentioning it because they look.
Yeah, thanks.
When they're side by side, you can see like that looks like Europa, except muddier.
Oh right, here.
Yeah, they look. But
did this happen? Did this happen because
muddier is not a word?
Muddier is not a word.
Muddier?
No. Yeah,
that's funner. It's funner to say. It's funner.
Yeah,
it's funner to say.
It's mutter. It's mutter.
Me mutter.
Mutter. It's me mutter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I mean, unless I'm totally wrong, but there's definitely a connection. They look all like. I mean, why did no one ever do this before? He's the first one that I've ever seen that actually took electricity to ice and said, "Ta-da, Europa."
Yeah,
I better get credit, man.
He's too elusive, man. It's like we need to get him on more. You know? I tried to get him, but he
Neil will join us on Sunday. By the way,
you have to get thick skin to like do this game because it's like rejection is 98% of it. So
I don't think he's going to get too much rejection from us. That's for sure.
Come on, Dave. Dave's not home.
Dave.
Come on, Dave. I got this. Remember that, right, Neil?
I'm still waiting on Gable to get his computer up and running to get all these guys together for one big geology show.
That would be awesome. We should. So next Sunday will be like
Peter. I don't want to steal from his thunder. I at least want to get him on the show once for himself, and then.
Peter is Sunday.
Yeah. No, I think it's on the 8th.
It's on the 9th.
Okay.
9th.
Okay.
Sorry, 9th.
But Neil will be here next.
Robert Senior's coming in tomorrow. So
yeah, right. I hope you fly. Yeah, I'm gonna call him and find out safe and everything.